Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you to today's session on the AIRinVET project. We are here to discuss an initiative that's pivotal for the future of European industry and education. AIRinVET, Applied Innovation and Research in Vocational Education and Training, aims to drive European economic competitiveness and support the green and digital transition. How? By promoting applied innovation and research within vocational education and training for small and medium-sized enterprises and the broader industry. Our project focuses on identifying VET centers engaged in applied research, conducting insightful case studies, and developing tools that empower SMEs to participate in applied research activities. By collaborating with regional innovation agents, we are working towards a brighter future for European research and development. Today, we will explore how these initiatives not only enhance the European economy, but also fosters innovation through VET. We will hear from experts, engage in discussions, and hopefully inspire each other to contribute to this exciting journey. So let's dive in and see how we can collectively promote innovation and drive competitiveness through vocational education and training. Let's see a video presentation about this project.
Did you know that vocational education and training participate in applied innovation and research activities? The European Commission has called for centres of vocational excellence to support local businesses in innovation and green and digital transitions. Our objective is to define the role of VET in research and innovation by proposing a European reference framework for applied innovation and research in vocational education and training. To do this, we will follow a research, development, implementation and recommendation process on how to implement applied research in VET. The first step for the mapping of applied research has been to develop a glossary and a business model canvas of vocational education and training applied research to establish common terms. With these tools, we are carrying out interviews to gather knowledge from different experiences, countries and organisations. From that diversity, we will identify case studies of successful collaborations between vocational education and training centres and companies finding solutions to existing problems. The second step will involve understanding the mindsets of educational agents, industrial representatives and communities towards applied research. Then we will identify the enablers and barriers we need to overcome. In the third step, we will create a roadmap for the centres to integrate applied research activities in their organisations, taking into account different maturity levels. This will be the AIRinVET Applied Research and Innovation Framework. The fourth step to complete the process will be to facilitate interactions among different approaches. Online sessions will be done for partners and attendants from different countries to share their activities. We will gather conclusions and recommendations for organisations to implement applied research innovation activities. Through the AIRinVET project, we aim to drive European economic growth and support the green and digital transition by promoting applied innovation and research in vocational education and training for SMEs and industry. Would you like to have your applied research experience within VET education showcased in our project? Join us.
To kick things off, please welcome Grégoire Douxchamps from the EACEA to talk about forward-looking actions in R&I within VET. Grégoire is presenting the take from the EACEA, European Education and Culture Executive Agency, and the relevance for the Commission and the positioning of applied research and innovation for vocational education in Europe. Welcome, Grégoire.
and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for all the partners to be there as well and welcoming me. So EACEA, as you mentioned, is the Education and Culture Executive Agency. So we aim to promote and to develop projects in these two areas via major funding programs, so Creative Europe, Media, and of course Erasmus Plus for the educational part. This is for really EACEA. So we manage mainly calls for proposals, and this is the opportunity to gather such a wide range of partners in a room, in a project. AIRinVET applied to the forward-looking project in 2022. So just a few words about this important action, forward-looking action. This is an action aiming to foster innovation, creativity, social entrepreneurship, participation also in different fields of education and training in general. So it's quite broad action. Now, when we reach the project level, all the projects funded via this action, they are large-scale projects. We've seen this in the presentation, involving different types of organization, different type of member states, but they all aim to develop, test, create, identify some innovative approach. Innovation is really at the center of this of this goal and of these projects. But it's not innovation for innovation. It's also innovation to aim, aiming to be mainstreamed in order to improve really the systems as such. So the mainstreaming is important, and the European dimension, improving European dimension, is also key. So for the 2022 call, so we had 30 million euros of projects. So we fund 39 projects divided in specific lots. So the first one was about cross-sectoral priorities. The third one was about adult education, and the second one, the object of this project too, was about VET, so vocational education and training, where we had a specific priority that year about applied research in VET. So really for the applied research in VET, we fund 4 projects. So AIRinVET, of course, but also Challenger, BARCOVE, and NIRVET. So those are the 4 projects that we fund within this specific priority. I'll say a few words about the aim of this project within this priority. So still the same, identify, test, assess also structures, mechanism for applied research in VET. This is the first goal, let's say, of this project. The second one is to build capacity of these VET systems to undertake applied research. We know that, of course, within the European Union, the vision are quite different. What is applied research from one organization to the other? So put the organization and the stakeholders together and discuss about it. And the third goal, let's say, is to propose a reference framework. We've seen that also in the presentation. This is one of the goals of the project too. It can be operational, it can be financial, but the aim is, as I mentioned before, to mainstream it, the applied research in VET, in the systems. Just to conclude, this was about the past. We will speak about the current now situation of the project, and each actor will have the opportunity to present the results. But also, I want to give some pathway for the future also. So I have the pleasure actually to announce that the annual work program has been published for 2025, meaning that now everybody in Europe can see what will be the next course published next year. So it was just 2 days ago, so it's very recent. But we dedicated 32 million euros for this forward-looking call. And also we have an extra 8 million for higher education call, specifically one. And we have 8 topics defined. You will see that in details. I will not enter into detail now, but we have several specific, let's say, areas. So school education, the first one, VET, of course, the second one with vocational excellence, and also joint VET qualification and modules for the second one. And then we have adult learning, and finally digital education. So I really encourage everybody to have a look and see if there are some matches and possibilities to submit proposals. The course will be launched, of course, in the upcoming month. It's not directly, but you can have some perspectives for the future. This is it. Thanks a lot once again.
Thank you, Grégoire. Now we will speak about the current situation of research and innovation conducted in VET centers. Our speakers will describe the reason behind the process and the findings of the mapping they carried out. We have with us Íñigo Araiztegui from Technica, Jakub Grodecki from EURASE, Natašha Kristan from Solsky, and Juan Manuel Mondejar from Projar Group. Welcome to all of us. Thank you for being here today. Juan Manuel, how did you come up to take the project idea forwards? What was or what has motivated you to address the applied research through the project?
Hi everyone. Thanks for the invitation to represent here not only Projar Group but also the BARCOVE project. And we are a company that we are focusing on landscaping and urban greening in a city environment. So we are also part of an European platform for urban greening, which is a KA3 Action Erasmus program. And within that project, we are basically two different kinds of organizations, vet school and also private companies in the green sector. So the project is more on policies. And the companies, we found out what about our interest here? Are we going to actually do something? So the companies within the project, we propose to the vet schools to develop some innovation deep dives. What it is an innovation deep dive? What we did is to gather once a year for 2 or 3 days, all together, inviting also different other companies, other stakeholders, public administration, startups, gather together and propose a challenge. And within these 2 or 3 days, to try to develop by groups solutions for these challenges. And at the end of these 2 or 3 days, obviously we weren't able to come up with a proper solution, but it was the first step to look forward, to try to find new fundings, to actually develop together a new solution to bring into the market.
And what was the starting point for you to take this topic and further develop the relations between the Projar Group and the education providers?
For us, it is very important to catch talent from the vet schools, because at the end of the day, in the future, we need very high educated workers. So by working together, closely together, with our local vet providers, it brings us the opportunity to actually identify where this talent is and catch it in the early stages of their education.
Natašha Kristan from Solsky, how you approached the mapping? How did you find out the mapping results and what is your reflection?
Hello. Thank you for inviting me. So I come from Šolski Centar Kranj from Slovenia, and I come from, so we are lead partner a project challenger. So the main aim of the project is to make ecosystems for so we name them maker spaces, so to facilitate the applicative research in vet education. And at the beginning, we started with research around the world, so we made best practice research. It was like, every of the partners just made the proposition, what kind of best practices we already know. We tried to look all around the world, not just around Europe, so we had some best practices from Canada, from Singapore, so it's really worldwide. And then, on the other hand, we wanted to see what are the systemic obstacles and what are the possible solutions to implement application research into the not just to the vet education as like something in the vet, but definitely into the curricula, so the things can be really sustainable to stay in the system. And then on the basis of that, we developed framework and the user journey of students and of mentors and of teachers in this makerspace. And then, of course, we wanted to put it into the higher level, so we developed business plan templates, so it really can be something tangible. And at the end, in the phase of piloting, we really want to test if all the courses for students, for teachers we developed, that they are working, and then what is in piloting, what will be all the systems, obstacles and solutions, what is possible, what is not, to see in the practical way. So that's our way of mapping and developing the idea.
Thank you, Natašha, for your contribution. What about your approach, Íñigo Araiztegui from Technica? What is your reflection?
Okay. So, yeah, we did a similar mapping exercise as well in Europe and outside. But, before we started, we did some theoretical decisions, and so to call them. So we decided to follow the definition of applied research of the OECD, which was defined in the 60s in the Frascati manual and so on. So we decided to avoid this approach of saying, this is applied research for me. We thought it doesn't make sense. It's already defined and statistics are made and so on. So we took this definition. Then we decided to consider VET, or what qualifies something as a VET center following the 2020 Council recommendation on VET. So it includes the tertiary level as well, which can be a bit difficult in some countries, but we decided to consider some institutions as tertiary education institutions as VET centers. And then we took a systemic approach to innovation. So we didn't follow a science push model, assuming that it's basic science, then applied research, then development, then production, then commercialization. This is old-fashioned. We didn't follow a market pull model either, that you have the demand and then you answer the demand, and that's innovation. So we took a systemic approach, which is more trendy, and it's aligned to the theories our governments are following with the smart specialization strategies, the national innovation systems, the regional innovation systems, and so on. So, and within this framework, we carried out several interviews with different actors in different countries, and our main conclusions were that there's a lot of ambiguity in how we understand what research is in different institutions. Some of them refer to research in a very restricted way. Others consider almost any activity research just because it's different from teaching and so on. So there's a job to be done there. Then we realized as well that you find more research-related activities when the EQF, the European qualifications framework levels rise. Doesn't have to be a necessary relationship, because you can have a technology center that does research and is not related to education, but we found this relationship, and then we found that many activities are not research. But I would say that the most important finding is that we realized that the VET system really does have an impact in the innovation ecosystem, especially at the local and regional level. And that's the most important finding. Then there's the naming thing and so on. There's more research needed for that, so funding will be welcome, because there are more things to research.
Thank you, Íñigo. We have with us also Jakub Grodecki from EURASIA. Welcome, Jakub. What roles do policy and government support play in promoting applied research in VET, and what changes are needed at the policy level?
Yes, thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. Indeed, I will refer to what Íñigo was saying about how we actually were shocked at the beginning, because even within the consortium that consists only of a couple of countries, we could not easily find out the common ground of understanding what the definition of VET means. And as our organization is working on the edge of professional education and VET, and I think we were also the cause of bringing those higher EQF into the project, because then we understood that many of our members, as EURASIA, as Association for Applied Science in Europe, is having those role in the society as an institution, even being a higher education institution, to also provide those practical courses and sometimes fulfill the role of VET. So our mapping and policy recommendations, referring to your question, where we stand for, started with really understanding that the 47 countries diversity in our Bologna, higher education Bologna system here, 27 member states when it comes to European Union, it's very tough to map out. And policy recommendations actually started from really understanding and aligning what does VET means, what it can contribute to society, but also how it's understood by the society. So our recommendations, which we'll be concluding very, very shortly from now, was coming back from this diversity, starting with the position of the VET systems in the country, what kind of obstacles those systems have versus the normal universities, the comprehensive universities that are often in a different space. There are systems that are dual, that the countries have both VET systems and the university systems, and sometimes it's very connected. So coming from that. Then the societal recognition and the policies supporting recognition of VET for the wider society and the role of VET in shaping and training and giving opportunities as well. VET system is actually one of the main contributors of inclusion in our societies, because it's sometimes the first way and the very practical way to gain education and then contribute to societal economy. Third of all, we analyzed the funding opportunities and how also the funding mechanisms are complex for the VET centers in the countries, because it's way easier to speak, for example, with the comprehensive research, well-established funds, and for example, such a Horizon, versus the VET and economy-related funds for those activities that are not so well defined, because the definition of the applied research is not. We are exploring here this definition. That's why this project also happened, because it's an exploratory one, and I think this type of research will gain more and more relevance in the future in Europe. And finally, I think the communication and visibility, so how society is perceiving those institutions, those education opportunities, and why they should pursue those careers was the part of the policy. So was a part of the policy analysis, which differs very much from country to country, and we try to at least map it, or at least ask the members through 80 interviews, how do they really see that in the countries. And the landscape is diverse, but the unity will hopefully save us here. Thanks.
Thank you, Jakub, for being here and for your contribution. At first thought, barriers to research and innovation in vocational education include limited funding, lack of collaboration with industries, and insufficient support for staff development. But I'm sure there are also enablers that involve strong partnerships with businesses, access to funding opportunities, and policies that support innovation and professional growth. To speak about this topic, we have with us Josu Riezu from AFM, Henning Klafke from BHH. We have also Oyer Uriarte with us from IMH, and Maëla Barson from Hanse Parliament. Thank you, all of you, for being here today. Josu, what barriers do SMEs face, and what strategies do set to engage VET organizations in applied research and innovation activities effectively?
Okay, good morning. Thank you, Alight. I come from AFM. AFM Cluster is the organization representing the advanced manufacturing sector in Spain. We have 7 industrial associations inside AFM Cluster with more than 800 companies, the majority of them SMEs. Concerning the barriers that create difficulties to SMEs to do applied research and innovation through VET centers, there are several barriers. Depending on the country, they could be bigger or smaller, because as you know, we have different educational systems in different countries and regions, and we also have different policies depending on the country. But anyway, we find some general barriers, and I would like to highlight 3 of them. The first would be the lack of knowledge. I think that many times companies, SMEs, don't know the benefits they could get doing applied research. They even don't know that there are vet centers doing applied research. And many times as well, they don't know the equipment, the knowledge that the vet center has to help them. So this would be the first barrier. Another important barrier could be the cultural difference that we find in SMEs and in vet centers. SMEs are very focused on the market. They try to be quick. They try to give a quick response to the clients. So they are very oriented to the client. And another barrier is the limited resources. SMEs generally they have limited resources to do applied research. I mean limited resources concerning financing, technology knowledge, people or staff to do the applied research. So these three barriers would be the ones that I would highlight. And strategies to taking into account these barriers, I would say three of them as well. First one will be build trust between companies and vet centers. Open communication channels, different contact people. This would be the first one. Related with this strategy as well could be to see long-term relationships, not focus just in a project, focus in a long relationship, because vet centers have a lot to offer to a training to an SME. I mean, they have many services. They have dual systems. They have the talent that the company will need in the future. They have training for workers. They have innovation. They have research. So this, if you take all this, it's a very valuable offer for an SME. And finally, as well, it could be useful to use the funding. If there is some subsidy that could help to reduce the cost of applied research for a company, this would be a very good strategy to come to a company.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for your points, Josu. Henning Klafke from BHH, what barriers do educational organizations face, and what strategies do they implement to effectively engage small and medium-sized enterprises in your case?
Yes, thank you, Alex, for the question, and thank you, Josu. You just grab at and the landscape is diverse in the educational organization, and also the barriers in educational organizations are very complex. But let me tear it down on one hand. So the world of work is changing. The rapid pace of technology is influencing the work and influencing also educational organization. But this rapid pace doesn't count for educational organizations. They're quite stable. They have fixed curricula, and they have different scopes and focuses on education. For example, a university, they're focused on academic competences. They want to have researchers. Universities of applied sciences, it's diverse, more diverse. They're doing a kind of a dual study system, as you say. They do applied science, but does this applied science count for companies? And is it really valuable for companies to think about in that way for applied science? It's, like you say, they don't have a cooperation. They have no collaboration because they see, is it really beneficial for my work by integrating applied science approaches into our work? So, and that's why I think the hidden champions of educational organizations are VET centers, because they have the responsibility, because the world of work is changing for skilled workers. And it's changing so fast, so they need to come up with all the problems, as you say, fundings, knowledge, all about having the trustworthy setting and a trustworthy network with companies. So I think these are the main barriers. But there are things, I think, and you talk about also enablers. What kind of enablers we have in order to get these things done? The first thing is share responsibility with the companies together. Bring companies into the educational organizations and vice versa, of course, to see why not? Why shouldn't companies just give some ECTS points, so some credit points for studies, of course? So, and this is what we are doing exactly at our University of Applied Science, where I'm in. We are sharing this kind of responsibility with the companies and with the VET schools. We're not just having a cooperation, we have a collaboration. And we accept also things that can be learned on the shop floor level in the company, same as in the teaching classes rooms of the vocational training centers, which are not only classrooms, they have also workshops and they do practical work, and we combine it with theoretical knowledge. It's hard work and it's challenging to keep up this kind of collaboration and not cooperation anymore, because we need to have a lot of conferences. We speak different languages. We have a diverse landscape, as we have addressed also in our project, as we have mapped it. And so, but it's worth it. If we share the responsibility, if we think about participation and also having open curricula that we are allowed to do it, except also we need to have funding and stuff like this. But these are the main things I would say educational organization, education will change in future.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Henning. What about you, Oyer Uriarte from IMH?
Good morning to everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to focus more in barriers, but I'm going to set different barriers that I could see. First of all, I'm going to say that we need qualified personnel for research teaching. And we have problems to attract this type of people. Then we need equipment, but we need advanced equipment for working with SMEs. And then we need time for research, because we are teachers, but we don't have time to research. So we need time in the organizations to do this type of things. And like everybody says here, for doing this, the most important thing is the financial resources, because this way we will have time, we will have equipment, and we will have knowledge in this type of things. Another important thing for us is the recognition of the ecosystem. SMEs, for example, for European Union, from the VET centers. And this way, I think that we are going to engage SMEs for doing research with VET centers.
Maila Barson, how can applied research in VET accelerate the green and digital transitions within European industries through applied research?
Hello, so yes, my name is Maila, and I'm from Hanse Parliament. So we are a network of 50 chambers of craft and commerce around the Baltic Sea region and universities as well. And yes, so about the green and digital transition, so actually that's a very important point also for us at Hanse Parliament. So we are involved in this project, and we are also working on green economy. And yes, well, I think it's not a secret for anyone, but our society is undergoing a fast digital and green transition. It's the so-called twin transition. And well, I would like to ask you questions. I would like to know how many of you knew before, just when they graduated, what they would do. As school children, what you would do in your future jobs. Well, I didn't know. And you know, now 65% of the school children will have a job that has not been invented yet. So 65%, it's a lot. And what does it mean concretely? So it means that, well, you know, the pupils, so the future workers, they will need to be very agile, because they will have to, you know, to encounter some new situations and have new jobs. So that's, I think, the important part for the VET students, that they must be agile. And for this, they must be educated in a proper way. So it's also going to influence, of course, the VET institutions. Because as VET institutions, they need to identify the future demand of skills, and they need to prepare their students for these digital and green-oriented jobs. And for SMEs, well, it's also going to impact them. Of course, it's already impacting them, because they must remain competitive, so they must innovate. And that's why this kind of project, so applied research and cooperation between SMEs and VET institutions, is very important. So they really need to work together, and together they can accelerate this transition. And well, working on applied research within this project, I came across quite an interesting example in Canada, in the city of Winnipeg. So the Red River College teamed up also with industries and with gas utility from the region because they had a problem, in Winnipeg. So the problem was the following one. So now we have electric vehicles. Maybe some of you have it in the audience. And it's very practical. It's better for the environment. But back then, it was not efficient enough, and they had problems with it, and so it's not sustainable. It's not going to last, because also economically speaking, it's not interesting. So they teamed up together on a project, and they say, okay, well, let's develop and test a prototype, and try to ameliorate it. So to have more recharging batteries and more efficient electric buses. And this project was a very big success. And well, in the end, they ended up putting it on the market, and now people from the city, from Winnipeg, they can benefit from these buses. So it really makes a difference, and I think it's a very interesting example of how, applied research between VET and SMEs can be a game changer as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Maela, thank you for those valuable insights. In the provided situation worldwide and the barriers and challenges vocational education centers have, how can we overcome them? Now let's explore some proposals that aim to shape the future of AIRinVET and address challenges ahead. We are pleased to welcome Barbara van Ginneken from Catapult, Natašha Kristan from Solsky Center CRAM, and Juan Manuel Mondejar from Projar Group. Juan Manuel, I give you the floor whenever you want.
Thank you. So today I'm going to do a brief presentation about the BARCOVE project, which is building an applied research facility into COVIS. So this project gathered together vet schools and also companies, private companies from the green sector. So the goal of this project was to try to do applied research combining the green infrastructure and the blue infrastructure in the city. So we understood that not only vet schools and private companies were the key stakeholders to achieve a proper innovation on the sector. So we gather also external companies not involved in the project, like startups with fresh ideas, with fresh innovation, which we thought it was going to be useful for us, for our challenges. Also, we involve public administrations, because as a private company is involved in the green sector, we understood that our final clients, most of the times, they are those public administrations, municipalities or ministers or decision makers, basically. So we gathered all together, and within the consortium, and we thought, how can we do this? How can we gather all of these people? We took the concept of the innovation deep dive I explained previously, and we decided that a good idea could be to organize a hackathon around a few challenges. So we gathered all of these stakeholders for a few days. We did a pre-training before this hackathon, and we tried to present those challenges, make different groups, mix all of the stakeholders in different groups, students, vet teachers, technical people from private companies, public administrations, startups, and we worked for these 2 days on these challenges. We identified 4 challenges, which was what we thought it was the most relevant for the industry, such as permeable paving, soil and sat systems, pressurized water system, rainwater systems, and green roofs. So we divided those groups into these different challenges, and we worked together to come up with ideas. After these ideas came up and these potential solutions, each team in the different countries, which each team is composed by a vet school and a private company from the sector, we develop pilot cases, one-to-one cases, we call it, so where the innovation is proposed together by all the stakeholders and developed with the startups, with the students, and also with the private companies. So, for example, in our case, in the one-to-one case in Spain, we propose the installation of a green roof that we could actually measure moisture in the water. We designed some special sensors that we could monitor that together with the students. We also wanted to measure the biodiversity that a green roof brings into an urban environment, together with a startup, with a solution that a startup has. So it was a very special work, because we had to understand everyone's interest and try to collaborate with everyone's expertise. So it enriched, I think, from my point of view, it enriched the students, that they had a chance to actually see what a roof garden is, but also us to achieve some results that we could actually bring it into the market and marketing ourselves as the leaders in the industry. You could see, well, the results. Of course, we did some mistakes, which is fine, which is part of the innovation. We got some conclusions. We discussed this with the teachers, and the teachers were able to actually introduce this methodology into the curricula, which I think is quite good. As an outsider, I'm not a teacher, I'm not in the vet industry, but as an outsider, I think it's very good for those students. So the conclusion that we got into this one-to-one case is that let's innovate, but let's innovate together. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Juan Manuel. Now, Natašha Kristan from Solsky Center CRAM is going to present the proposal Challenger. I give you the floor.
Thank you. So will it start? So, hello everybody again. I come from the project Challenger. So our idea, we are focused on problem-solving approach, on knowledge, skills sharing connected to concrete challenges, search of concrete solutions for industry, of society. So we wanted to bring into our ecosystems, in our makerspaces, so new agile mindset, new forms of learning, teaching, working, and new education and culture approaches, and systemic changes of VET, because we need systemic changes if we want to have those makerspaces active and applicative research implemented in VET. So at the beginning, I will present user journey. So we developed it in the project. In the project, we have 6 vet providers. So it's very focused on, project is very focused on vet providers, but on the other hand, we have partners with a lot of knowledge in other fields. So we could do things like that, because, you know, vet providers, we have knowledge of vet education a lot, but others, we really seek for other knowledges, and that was one of the chances for us to improve us in doing new things in the field of applicative research. So we developed this user journey so the students and teachers and mentors could see where is their place in the makerspace, what to do, what is expected from them. Of course, we developed the education for teachers and for students, because everybody has to learn to work active, to be a part of applicative research. And yes, we developed the framework because, again, makerspaces, the idea behind is very well known. We have a lot of good practices in on different vet providers, but they are just the cases of good practices. It's not a system of good practices. So we made all the research of the barriers, of the possible solutions, of what kind of things we can develop, so good cases around the world. And then we created the idea of role model, so the mentor, what is the role model, what do we want from them, how to act in the makerspace, and then we made a business plan template, because it's important to have everything on one place, to know what to do, how to do. And we developed makerspace framework where all the actors are in and everybody knows what to do. So, and the most important thing here are, it's not just one, there are more, but you have to have the strong support of the leadership, and you have to have very strong cooperation, but without leadership there is nothing to be developed. And this is the scheme of the makerspace of our framework, so we can see how we are tending to make the cooperation between schools and the local and regional communities, because it's very important that we don't just do something, for the business, don't do something for ourselves, but we have to think wider. We have to think about the whole community, because when students are a part of the whole community, I think that they grow and they know their value in the world, and in time of their being in the secondary school, I think that the building of the personality is very important. And then at the end, we want to test everything. So every vet provider will try to build its own makerspace. It will be 6 different makerspaces, because we have different backgrounds. We are in different systems, and every vet provider will provide 3 or more challenges, and then at the end, one of the challenges will go to the main competition, and it will be presented at our final conference. And we are really looking forward. So first of the few of the challenges are presented here. So they're really interesting. The challenges came from companies, from local environment, from NGOs. So for example, I don't know, smart bike storage for personal bicycles. And you see, it's really something that brings some, I don't know, cherry on the top. So that's the main goal, or the main reason for doing the projects and all the paperwork and all the research. So at the end, you see the results like this. So the partnership is really very wide, but we have the focus, as I said, on the vet centers, and I really hope that things will become sustainable and to be really, developing even after the project. Okay, it's 2 years, but maybe we will be successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natašha. Now it's time to hear the proposal of Barbara van Ginneken from Catapult, the AIRinVET proposal. I give you the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here with me. I'm Barbara. I'm coming from Catapult in the Netherlands. It's a catalyst for public-private partnerships in vocational and professional education. Within the AIRinVET project, together with all of you, our partners, we developed a framework and a roadmap. Let's see. In order to give some ground to stand on to vet centers that want to improve their research and innovation activities. We based our framework on the outcomes of our project, our mapping, our case studies, our interviews with really large variety of stakeholders within our network. And within our network, we tried to reach out as much as we could. And doing that, we found 4 dimensions that need to be taken into account when you want to improve your research and innovation activities. Those 4 dimensions are impact, activities, research and innovation in itself, and governance. Impact is about the why. That's what we start with. That's what a vet center should start with. Why do you want to improve your research and innovation activities? I think we heard many reasons here already today, but it's important for them to know what motivates them. Where do they want to go to? What's their goal? What's their objectives? What are the incentives they expect from it? Are they feasible? It's very nice to talk about the desired impact with vet centers. So when they know that, we can move on to the second dimension, which is activities. Those activities entail everything a vet center already does. So everything they provide. And that's not just initial education. I think that's the core business. Of course, we all do that. But also their associated functions, their academic profile, like the EQF level of the educational offer they provide, the skills, internal and external innovation processes, and the forecasting they might be doing. Because this is what we can build on. We already have this. So then the next 2 dimensions are research and innovation and governance. Research and innovation, we made it into a dimension because we need to see what are we already doing? What can we build on? What kind of capacity and methods do we have? What is our expertise so far? What's our ecosystem? Do we have a backup? Can we cooperate and collaborate with SMEs and other stakeholders like governmental organizations, NGOs, and so on? And of course, this can be a very wide variety too. Like the research methods, there's desk research, but especially for vet institutions, it's often not that. It's not that academic or theoretic. It's much more on the floor, hands-on activities, and it's very nice to see the wide range of research methods that can be included. And also the research outcomes. They are not often books or journal articles in scientific journals. They are prototypes, proofs of concept, products, interventions. There is so many to do, and there are so many more to develop. And then, of course, the 4th dimension comes into view, because if you want to do and improve your research and innovation activities, then how do you organize that? And it's very important to do that well. So you need to have a strategy that's embedded within your organization and aligned with the policies that are in place in your region on national level or even international level. And of course, you need to address internal and external barriers and enablers. We talked about them too. The 4 dimensions are very much interrelated. There's no such a thing of a great new idea without an open mindset. There is no such a thing as a good result that has not been seen by anyone because you forgot your dissemination. We really need to see them all. So what do we do with this framework? We are developing an online interactive self-assessment tool so vet organizations can have insights in their current state of affairs when it comes to their research and innovation activities. The outcomes will look like graphs like this. So you can see how you scored on different parts of our dimensions. And based on the outcomes, you will receive recommendations, and those recommendations are again based on the results of our AIRinVET project and the expertise of all our partners and network. This is not a rigid guideline. That's important to know. It's an open, living framework. We can add. Some vet institutions will have specific contexts or circumstances that will make some of the parts of our dimensions maybe not so relevant for them, and others very relevant. And this can differ from situation to situation, from vet center to vet center, from region to region. And I think it's very nice that we managed to make a framework that allows for this flexibility. So I also wanted to say I'm very proud of what we did here. Thank you for your input.
For your presentation, Barbara. Taking into account the current situation and proposals, let's dive into the future. What actions should we take to have a future with applied and innovation research in VET with value for SMEs? Now we will have a panel discussion to delve deeper into these proposals, and joining us are representatives from Russia, Jakub Grodecki, consulting and representing Canadian colleges, Diane Bird, thank you for being here. We have also Juan Manuel, thank you, Mondejar, Natašha Kristan, Josu Riezu from AFM, Barbara van Ginneken from Catapult, Dirk de Witt from ISO, Maela Barson from Hanse Parliament, Oyer Uriarte, IMH, and from Technica, Íñigo Araiztegi and Íñigo Mujica. Thank you for being here. And we are going to speak about the participation of different agents in the AIRinVET ecosystem, what would facilitate and support the understanding and engagement of internal and external stakeholders. So we are going to start with you, Íñigo Mujica from Technica. What would be critical actions to support teachers in engaging in applied research?
Okay, thank you all of you for being here. Okay, that's an interesting question, and I think it comes well after seeing the framework that Barbara showed us, because I think it's very interesting the role of the school management. Here we see that Oyer said before also that it's difficult to find teachers to involve in this kind of project. I agree with that, but not in 100%, because I think that school management has a huge role supporting this kind of teachers, because we need to know that we are making projects for SMEs. SMEs demanding one technological development or some innovation activity to do in a VET center for them, and the teachers are not used to do this kind of projects. We used to adapt to the timetable of the company. It's an innovation project for the teacher. It's very interesting, but also challenging. And I think the first thing that should be done if you are going to start making an applied research project is to support the teacher that is going to be involved in this kind of projects. First of all, I would like to say how is the situation of applied research project in different ecosystems. Sometimes the teacher and students are involved in this kind of projects. So in this kind of projects, maybe the innovation level it's not so high because there are also involving the students inside this project. But at least in the Basque ecosystem, the situation is that the teachers are the only ones that make this kind of projects, and the innovation level is quite high. So we are not used to do this kind of project as a teacher, and we need a lot of support from the school management. And first of all, I think it's very important to create the solid process to do this kind of projects, create a group of teachers, not to be alone. Sometimes there is a teacher doing this kind of project and he feels quite lonely because it's very hard. He doesn't have any support. So I think it's very important to have a support from the school management, and then also create a net from different VET centers. I think a lot of VET centers nowadays are making applied research projects, and I think it's very, very important to create a net, see how other people is working, and that's it. And to finish, I said that support from school management, create a net. It's very important for a teacher that is going to be making this kind of project. And I think the freedom, I don't know, I wouldn't say freedom, but yes, regarding to the to the timetable of the teacher, I think they need some flexibility from the management, school management team, because you need to suppose that you are adapting to the timetable of the company. The company needs a project in 2-3 months, and you need to do it by 2-3 months. And the teacher, maybe in this period, needs to work a lot. So then it needed to be a flexibility inside the group of teachers that are doing these kind of projects.
Thank you, Inigo. We are speaking about teachers, but now we are going to speak about the students. Diane Bird from Canada, what are the benefits of VET student involvement in applied research? I mean, how the institutions can engage students in applied research, and how can be better embedded inside the study programs?
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I bring a perspective from the Canadian College Network, which is our vocational education and training system in Canada. And in all of my experience, because we are education and vocational education providers, our focus is really on the students. And really, I see applied research as a way to enhance the learning for students. There are so many benefits and so many, there's so much research that's been done on the benefits for students. When they're engaged in applied research projects, they're not only applying their technical skills that they're learning in their programs, but they're also applying their professional skills. So the softer skills, the problem solving, critical thinking, and they get to develop those further, apply them, and the companies that they work with get to see them in action. And I'll share a little story. I worked as the director of applied research at a college, New Brunswick Community College, and had a whole team of an applied research team that supported students and teachers. We had great support from our leadership, and I always insisted that our team go to our annual graduation ceremonies, because I wanted them to see how our work connected to the students and how the students benefited from what we helped them to do. And one year, the valedictorian that year, that student spoke. Almost his whole speech was about the applied research work that he had done that year. And he talked about the benefits. He talked about how he built relationships with the team that he worked with within the college, but also within the company. And then the ultimate benefit, the win, because that's what we're all about, is getting the students from learning to employment. He was offered a job with that company at the end. So those are the kinds of success stories that we see. And in terms of how to go about ensuring that integration and that connection happens, it is a team effort. It does require leadership support. It requires faculty engagement, number one. And in order to engage faculty, I think professional development is key, and helping them to see how applied research is not necessarily an add-on or an extra thing. Sometimes it is, and you need the extra time and the flexibility, but it can be incorporated directly into the programs as a way of teaching, so that it's not extra. You need to set expectations with the companies that this is so it might not be for those urgent 2 to 3 month projects, but if it can fit into the curriculum and they can align it with the learning competencies that the students have to cover anyway, that's a win-win for everybody. So thank you.
We're speaking about the students and staff involvement that are fundamental values of education. Jakub, how to organize the assurance systems to support quality culture and stakeholders engagement?
Thank you so much for that question. I think it's, I'm going to go a bit theoretical here, but theory and something that at the first sight sounds often boring, because talking about quality assurance as a system approach to solution for every problem is very kind of daunting to translate it then to the local situation. However, I'm strongly believing that the long-standing quality culture that supported many institutions to enhance themselves is a very much factor to improve. And indeed, you said asking me a question about fundamental values of involvement of staff and stakeholders. This approach is very much coming from the higher education systems, that how it was shaped in order to facilitate mobility in Europe, how to kind of get close together and understanding what the quality of education is to allow for the free mobility in our continent, right? And there might be a set of standards and a set of main issues for the VET institutions that are also able to be connected and understood in the same way. I know there are frameworks for example, ECAVET framework for VAT institutions. However, what is the really basis of every framework, and as I was saying, like sometimes theoretical frameworks of quality assurance, what's the basis for it is the stakeholder engagement in shaping this institutional and also ecosystem around the institutions together. So by stakeholders' involvement and fostering this quality culture means basically the true involvement and co-ownership of the different stakeholders in our situation. If we are speaking about the teachers, about the students, building the ownership of their own programs, of getting the future. We are speaking about the dynamic curricula and so on. We need to discuss those curricula with the companies, with the students, with the teachers and so on. Management has to have a direct contact to that. The changes has to be communicated to show really that there is a mutual hearing. You know? And maybe perhaps if for our sector, that would be more understood as a common language of quality assurance, as it's well working in higher education because of the quality assurance agencies' roles in the countries, because of the certain standards. Maybe this common language of the internal culture would kind of allow us for better understanding also of the role of the certain regional systems and the institutions there. So yeah, I'm quite a fan of this quality assurance stuff, because we are directly working on the very European level on that. But yeah, it translates very much down to the ground, to what's happening on the VET institution changes.
Thank you. And about the point of view of the companies, Juan Manuel, how can collaboration between VET centers, SMEs, and regional innovation agents be enhanced to drive economic competitiveness and innovation?
Thank you. From our point of view, I will say, and our experience, I will say that we need to find a common ground where we can promote a win-win situations between all the stakeholders. Of course, we think that's how our organization makes businesses, trying to find win-win situations. So that's our approach also for applied research and to make relationships with the vet schools. So it is difficult because that makes everyone to get out of their comfort zone and to get out of the daily tasks and targets. But we, as a companies, we need to understand how education organizations works. What are their problems? What are their needs? What do they want? What are their targets? We have ours, and they do need to understand also what are our concerns, our interests. For example, time frame. We have a different time frame than schools, and it's quite noticeable. And we do need to understand also that, for example, students are not available for certain months, because either they are on holidays, either they are in companies doing trainees or whatever. So by understanding this and trying to find win-win situations constantly and create a framework to be able to do that, we will be able to actually find those little spots where we can actually work together in a projects, get some fundings, try to boost some innovation. And it might not be perfect, the result, but it might be, but everyone will win something. And on that, we can keep on building up new collaborations.
We will discuss also about the measuring impact. How should we measure the impact of applied research activities within VET on the innovation capacity and worth of SMEs? In this case, Dirk de Witt from EACEA, what should we measure the impact?
Well, first, thank you for your question. And yes, I'm working for EACEA. We are the knowledge provider for the building and installation sector in the Netherlands. And say that maybe I'm not recognized as the most, how to say, expected participant in this project, but I'm participating, and I'm also very happy with this question about SMEs. We are participating on behalf of the Techniek Nederland, the business association of the installation companies in the Netherlands, and they are in the heart of the green and digital transition at the moment. And to come back to the question, I think we should start when we want to measure the impact on, with an anthropological perspective, on how to see that the SMEs react on the results of the research and innovation done by the VET centers. Are they using the results? Will they come back to the VET center with new questions? Do we see that the results leads to new services, new business opportunities for them? And we also that other SMEs in the region, and this means the dissemination of the results is also very important, see we that other SMEs in the region also start going to the VET center with their questions on, hey, help me with this problem, to solve this problem. At the same time, measurement should also be done in figures, because that helps to give more concrete feeling by what's happening. So I would also say start with focusing on economical things, on the growth of the SMEs that are involved in the R&I projects. And that means that when a VET center starts with doing research and innovation, it should also have a common understanding of the reference point. How is the economy going in our region for the sector we are focusing on? And then over years they can also do some measurement of the growth in SMEs, but not in one SME, because one SME for economic growth is too less. So I would say, when there are a lot of projects, you can also make some economic figures, some business growth figures, some maybe, I don't know, there are a lot of figures to define, but I would prefer to start with the anthropological perspective, because that's easy to measure. It's can be done directly after the first project, and it gives directly feedback to improve the R&I activities of the VET center. Thank you.
Thank you. And what approaches can be taken to foster a culture of innovation within VET institutions and among students and staff, Josu?
Yes. How to create a culture of innovation in VET centers. There are several reports that talk about this issue, and they give us some good solutions, and I will mention some of them. For example, a VET center could include in their strategy the concept of innovation. That could be a good way. Another way could be as well to train teachers and train school staff in innovation. We could also redesign the curriculums. We could innovate as well in learning processes. We could encourage or give rewards to the innovation. We could also invest, or we could allocate more time to do innovation. We could invest in more staff, in equipment. We could invest as well in staff with experience in innovation. All these solutions, I think they are fine. But I would like to focus in one idea that, from my point of view, could be also interesting. I think the proximity is a good solution. Proximity between VET and SMEs, and I don't mean physical proximity. I mean proximity in terms of reducing the gap that we find between SMEs and vet centers. SMEs have their own needs, technological needs and skill needs, and we need that the SMEs are as close as SMEs as, I mean, the vet centers are as close as SMEs as possible. We need to create bridges between both walls and communication channels, build relationships, and this is important because if SMEs and vet know each other, if teachers know the problems of companies and they help them doing projects, they start innovating, they get knowledge, and this knowledge through the teachers will be transferred to students. So I think this is a win-win relationship, no? If SMEs and vet centers are collaborating, this is a win-win relationship.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Henning Klafke from BHH. We are speaking about measuring impact. How can vet programs align their curricula with current and future industry needs through applied research, and in what ways can applied research in vet help address current skills gaps in the labor market, particularly in high demand sectors?
I would say measuring through transparency. And what I mean with this is we have seen two really good examples. The BARCOVE project with this green project they're bringing into the classroom, and also the Challenger projects, bringing the challenges of the companies into the classroom. And I think to do it in a transparent way, the learning process, the research learning process you're talking about, Diane, about how student will learn, it must be transparent. It must be, the company should see how also VET institution has changed. Of course, 80% of the classroom educations is still very instructional, and we can't afford to bring everything to a project. But do it once a year or twice a year by just saying we take these kind of challenges serious. And research learning is serious learning. It's not just having a project and you do just some kind of things. It's serious things, what we're addressing. And this is also what we're facing in Germany. We're doing a collaboration in the dual system, in the VET system. We're doing it since 500 years together with companies. And they have, I talked about the shared responsibility we have in Germany. I think this is the key element. And what we have done now with this framework in AIRinVET, you showed, Barbara, it was that we have now, it's not a rigid guideline, but it's a framework. You can self-assess yourself where you want to go with this kind of strategy. And in order to build this kind of relationship, to intense this kind of relationship with company, you need to be open-minded, this is one thing, but you need to have open curricula to do it. So maybe once a year, twice a year, do these kind of projects, tell and talk and disseminate these results in your network, in your regional network, and you will see some company says, wow, VET centers are capable of doing this, so let's do this together. And I think it's not about measuring, just bringing it out. Show it in a transparent way what educational organizations are capable of. And the companies, they have a lot of challenges. For example, at our university, we have 1 year, we have a validation of practice, we call it. It's research learning. The students came up with the questions from the company to us, and we reflect it. We're working on it on a theoretical base by bringing in also academic skills to solve these problems. I always ask the companies, why are you seeking for bachelors? Why are you doing this? You need skilled worker, of course, but also bachelors, because they need to know how to have reflection on the sources, on the literature, and they need to have a scientific perspective to solve problems in a way. Also, VET occupations have changed. When you think about complex occupations, they have a lot of technologies. It doesn't help anymore just to think about vet. We need new competencies. So transparency is one answer to it.
Thank you. And Diane, how important is international cooperation in advancing applied research in vet? And how can we strengthen cross-border collaborations?
Thank you for that question. it's very important, and I'll highlight three, guess three important reasons for international collaboration. And I liked how Henning referred earlier to collaboration as opposed to cooperation, because I think that's really the key. So first of all, the first reason is, as we all know, more heads are better than one. So, the more input and the more perspectives you have, the better the results will be. So very simply, collaboration in general is important. Secondly, many VET institutions, and particularly colleges in Canada, are very focused on internationalization right now. It's a really big part of strategic plans, and how do we look at our faculty and our students and engage them in those kinds of international opportunities. It's about learning more about diversity, global change, and what's happening across the world. So that's really, really important. International collaboration can help. Can help with problem solving and looking at things from different ways. So that's key. One way to do that, I think, is through projects like this, where you get different organizations together to work together and collaborate, and a really popular approach right now is something called COIL, which stands for Collaborative Online Learning. And that, I think, is a great way to engage in applied research, in any kind of learning way, actually. But it kind of it takes away the cost, so it's more accessible for students and faculty to engage internationally when they're doing something in an online, a distance format. So there are, I think, lots of ways to work through COIL to bring diversity to the teams. It brings it helps students learn from different perspectives, and exposes them to a world beyond maybe what they could potentially see if they can't travel. So I think those are some ways to do it, and hope that answers the question. Thanks.
Thank you, Diane. And now looking ahead, what vision do you believe, Íñigo from Technica, in regarding the role of applied research in VET over the next decade, and what key milestones should we aim for?
Okay, so that's the easiest question, it seems. Well, most of the things I can say are already covered, so I'm not going to repeat things. But I think that there's something very important here for policy makers to realize. They are talking about innovation systems in the last 20 or 30 years, at least in Europe. I have the feeling like system is becoming a buzzword that no one understands. They are just using it because it's trendy to talk about systems, ecosystems, and so on. So the first thing is to reflect on that and understand that a system in the end is a group of actors that have different functions that are carrying out a specific actions, and then they do have some relationships among themselves, and as a system they produce some outputs. If we are discussing innovation, they produce innovation. But that's the idea of a system. So in this sense, they have some very serious mistakes, because they are ignoring part of the actors. And they are not understanding that one thing is to invent something, and a different thing is to spread something that is new. And the spreading the new part is the innovation part, not the inventing part. The inventing part is important, but nothing happens economically until the new thing is spread in society. That's certain things they need to understand. The same goes for knowledge. Knowledge generation, and knowledge is a very broad term. There are very different types of knowledge, and some of them are very important for the economy, like knowing how to do things, knowing who to contact to do things, and so on. Not everything is knowing why something happens, or knowing what something is. That is more or less the fortress of the university and the academia, which is important, but the diffusion of knowledge is important as well, and that's more on the VET side. Then they tend to be very focused on scientists and engineers and cutting edge researchers and so on.
But nothing will happen with these people alone. They are important, but if we don't involve regular workers and so on, you won't expect much innovation to happen in your region. That's obvious, I think. Then they tend to be very focused on the frontiers of knowledge, which is nice, but you can have an excellent researcher in, I don't know, let's say something trendy, artificial intelligence, but you still have a lot of legacy sectors, a lot of traditional industries that are more related to BET, and you know, I mean, these frontiers of the knowledge are great and they can bring a lot of potential benefits in the future, but right now you have how many SMEs at the European level working in more traditional sectors, and we still need them, and we need them to be competitive. So that's a reality of every region in Europe. And then they tend to reflect as well, or they have to reflect as well on the model, because in systemic terms, and I mean, social researchers know it from years, but innovation is about learning interactions within an ecosystem. It's all about knowledge. Knowledge is the business, and how you spread this knowledge, and who has this knowledge, and what you can do with the knowledge. That's the game, more or less, with innovation. And they tend to be following a very old-fashioned model of funding science, and then this will somehow become a useful product in the future, or these kind of things, which are important for the system. But they have to understand as well that there's a lot of things that happen by, as Lundvall and other researchers say, by doing, by using, by interacting, and so on. And they do have a very huge economic impact. And then it has been mentioned, but VET can do all these things that tend to be ignored in most of the regional policies. The VET centers can be very good in, not in inventing things, but in spreading the new things, and not perhaps in generating new knowledge, but in diffusing it, and in working with, not with scientists perhaps, but with other types of technicians that we need, and working with more traditional sectors, and working with SMEs instead of perhaps the most advanced companies that don't necessarily need our assistance. And then one thing that two things that VET centers can do great, I think, is one is, and we've seen examples of that, is to work as a boundary spanner, so to work on to overcome the limits between different actors, because different actors have different goals. Companies want to make profit, researchers want to publish papers, and then you have BET, which can be in an interesting middle position and can work as a boundary spanner. So that's interesting as well, because it's difficult to understand how the academia will do it. I mean, if you are working for the academia, it can be counterproductive for your career to focus on your local ecosystem instead of your papers and so on. So that's a fact. And then another thing that VET centers are doing great, and it's a very important thing that tends to be ignored as well, is to have an impact at the local level. And the local level is very important. Everyone discusses the national level and the regional level, and no one talks, or it's not true that no one talks about it, but the local level is very important. And universities and academia and so on are better working at either regional or national or even international levels. But having an impact at the local level, because you train the students of your town and you or upskill the workers of the factories of your surroundings and so on, this can be the right type of actor. So I think that looking forward, apart from all the things that have been said, is that policymakers should stop and reflect about the role of VET in the innovation ecosystem, because it has a role.
Thank you, Íñigo. What considerations should be made regarding intellectual property rights and commercializing research outcomes from VET applied research?
I will address it to the answer I had before. It's transparency. And I'm a professor at a university. Of course, we are seeking for papers and bringing up our career. This is one thing. But I think, as a professor for computer science, I say public money, public code. And as we see from the project here, also in Germany, if you get funded, public funded, it should be open. So open access strategies are very, very necessary when we think on the level of the projects we're doing. But now we come to this point again, to the challenges we were talking about, bringing in the topics of the companies inside our classroom. So what is the intellectual property rights then? Of course, you can bring it out in a transparent way. And also the world of work has changed. For example, in our classroom, it's about 20, 25 students I have in my classroom. They're working at a company because they're apprentices there and also students. So they're working in the company, they're bringing in their challenges. It's their banks, their insurance companies, their IT companies, and they're bringing up different issues. And the companies told me, yes, please share all these experience inside your classroom, because I want that my students are gaining more competence, and they want to see what other companies are dealing with these kind of problems and what is the solution out of it. They learn, and they address the same point. So while we're doing this kind of rotation, while we're talking about these issues the companies have, they learn and they gain experience. So no way to just saying these are intellectual property rights and we will have disclosures or NDAs or something like that. We don't need in terms of education. But of course, sometimes a company said, yeah, but these are our data, our client data, you can't use them. Of course, we won't publish the client data. But when we think about projects like you did in the Challenges project by having just application or solving one problem, it's not about data. It's just about the process and gaining competence. So we should go, like also the project, go open access, go for open educational resources, bring this out, disseminate these results. They are good impulses for other VET institutions to work with these kind of workshop, bar camps, doing these open projects you have seen. I think this should be disseminated in a very, very open way. And I think nowadays, also, as I told, and maybe you correct me, Jussi, but I think companies, they say, yeah, please share it and don't keep it just under the hood.
Barbara, how can we ensure that the tools and resources developed by your project are accessible and beneficial to SMEs across different regions in Europe?
Yeah, I think we mentioned it before. I think on a national level, there's a lot of public-private partnerships in place already, and on an international level, there's also centers of vocational excellence. And I think the future education should be in public-private partnerships or in centers of vocational excellence, since the collaboration between institutions for vet education and SMEs, and possibly other stakeholders, makes us part of an open innovation network, makes us being part of being this bunch of people that know what they're talking about, and it allows for smooth dissemination of what we are doing and of making visible our results of the research and innovation processes and projects we're in, which is also very inspiring for others. And I think that's the spiral that we want to instigate. We want that to become bigger and bigger. It's a movement.
Thank you. Mayra, how important is international cooperation in advancing applied research in vet, and how can we strengthen cross-border collaborations?
Yes, so I think Diane answered this question perfectly before, so again, I'm not going to repeat it, but what is also interesting in international cooperation, it gives you also knowledge in different languages. And that's, I think, the perfect transition also to the question, how can we ensure that the tools we develop in the project will be used in the future and will be visible? So being in this kind of project, international project, it's also a very good opportunity to develop those tools in different languages. And that's what we are going to do with AIRinVET. So we will have the roadmap in Dutch, in German, in Spanish, in Basque, and of course in English. And yes, then I also like to think, that the project is never really ending. Of course, the funding isn't ending. People are starting other projects, are continuing doing their job. But I think it's also a responsibility of the partners that beyond the project, we are still talking about it. Because I think we all learned a lot in this project. And we will have many opportunities in the future to talk about it and to say, well, look, I participated in this project 2 years ago, and I think it could be interesting for you. And those kind of events also, like the BARCOVE Forum we had in Lyon in France in September, that is going every year. It's very, very good opportunity because you have a lot of partners, a lot of people also facing, the same issues, and sometimes they just don't know that there is a resource, that there is a tool. And I think it's our responsibility as well as partners that we communicate, we disseminate, as Henning said, beyond the project. We have to remember as well that, now we have organizations that are already really developed in applied research, but there might be, and there are some organizations in some countries that might not even know that it's a possibility. They might not even think it's happening and that it's successful. And that's very important that we bring the knowledge also to them, because they might not look for it if they don't know that it exists.
Thank you, Maela. Today's discussion have highlighted the critical importance of research and innovation in VET from various angles. It's clear that by working together, we can overcome challenges and unlock the full potential of VET for future generations. Which are today's takeaways? To discuss these conclusions, we have the presence of Jakub. Please, Jakub from EURASIA.
Yes, thank you very much, and for all the moderation and for all the voices that happen here. I think also when we were preparing this session and thinking about all what happened in the past 2 years, we were kind of going into already a conclusion mindset. But as was just said before, it's not that the project ends and the whole outcomes of what we are discussing today will just finish. I think we are part of building the stronger and more relevant and closer to the society VET, and then through VET, the applied research in VET opportunities, reality, and simply the relevance for the economy and so on. We are seeing the political change. We are seeing also the changes in our countries, because caused by the global issues, by the crises, by the labor market, by the economy changes, and we are seeing this relevance growing. We are seeing VET being higher on the agenda, and I think we have to all contribute to make it even more higher, more relevant, and understand that it's not a silosing that will allow our society to thrive, because it's causing possibly some misunderstanding. It's also not a competition. It's in a true meaning of this fact. It's not a competition between the universities in VET that should be fostered. It's more like understanding what is relevant for the different regions and what's relevant for the different stages. It was said by Inigo, our coordinator of Technica, and we are here in San Sebastian on one of the last meetings in person, and so that's why this panel is happening here. That basically it's all about recognizing the relevance. It's all about truly understanding the potential, but I don't think we have to be any more explaining that we are relevant. It's not the time anymore to say that, okay, VET, VAT, and therefore the careers in VET is something as a second tier. We are having many countries, many stigma still in the air. We were having that for years, but it's not anymore. Even somebody of you mentioned also careers, right? How the teachers want and how the teachers are developing themselves, what the opportunities are there. When it comes to the academic careers, the path is quite clear. What we are also advocating at EURASIA is to foster the permeability between the labor market, academic careers, the professional education, and so on. If we would allow the system to be more flexible and allow and attract the teachers for the applied education through this kind of careers, for example, that would be another system change and so on. So yeah, going through the conclusions, we were through the policy realities, the possibilities of suggestions for policymakers. I hope they are listening to us. The opening of the funding opportunities, the opening of the recognition of our sector in here, the relevance for all the levels, but very much embedded in the local up to actually the global economy reality that we are facing now. And yeah, the conclusion from now would be it's not finishing. We are there. This part of the ecosystem will be there for sure. So we will see what the the bright future brings into it, and we are looking forward for its development. We are happy about the presence of more and more VET in the priorities of the countries of the European Commission funds, which is obviously also fostering our European reality and our economy. So thanks very much for moderation, and thanks for host and all the guest partners as well, who are guests of our meeting here at AIRinVET in Technica office. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all of you for your participation, for your interesting contributions, and thank you also to all the attentive audience. We hope you enjoyed this session and look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.